Hey everyone, ArchTalko here, welcoming you back to Entwined. In the previous episode, I was talking about some of the little quirks, and by quirks I mean relatively major personality traits that define who I am. And I guess in that same vein, I'd like to discuss at least one more. And that's the fact that I, to my core, am a pretty big lazybones. And specifically, I am, without a doubt, one of the worst procrastinators I've ever met. So, I mean, have I met myself existentially? Probably. It's so bad that, okay, you know what? Let me tell one of my crowning achievements in procrastination. This is like, to this day, I'm still amazed I was able to pull this off. So I think we've all, for us fellow procrastinators, you know who you are. I'm sure we've all had those moments where, you know, in school or whatever, we've had research papers or other writing assignments that we would hold off doing until the very last day and then pull an all-nighter to do them. Well, when I was a senior in high school, I was in AP English, and the class itself was pretty intense, but specifically, there was one section, basically every 2 weeks we would go and do like a different genre or like a different book project type thing. We actually, by the end of the semester, ended up writing 52 papers. Now granted, I think 20 of those were in-class essays that were modeled off of the AP test, like hour-and-a-half essays that you had to do the test, granted, but that was still like 30 papers that we had to write, and one of them had to do with abstract drama. Now, the book that I was assigned was Waiting for Godot, which personally I really enjoyed. I loved Waiting for Godot. I think it's a fantastic play in its own really weird way. It's definitely probably not for everyone. It takes abstract to like a whole new level. So unfortunately though, I did enjoy actually having that assignment. So like the natural goob that I was, I held off till the very night before it was due. Now, what I ended up coming up with as my research paper to this day kind of baffles me, because essentially what I did, there's one like tiny little scene, actually two specifically, these two very minor characters that like one's a sort of master, very upper class type person, the other's either like a slave or some kind of servant. You meet them, they have a couple lines, then they go away, and then later on in the play they come back and the roles are reversed. It's like a very minor interaction, not really anything worth discussing, but I took that interaction and ended up applying the principles of Marxism to it to discuss class struggles, and then applied that to discuss the similarities between the French and American revolutions. Like, I don't know, the research paper ended up being like 7.5 pages long, just combining all those different elements. It was like, if I had a random word generator, essentially that's just what I did. I just picked random topics and I was like, okay, I guess I'll try making this work. And I did, and I got a 98 on that paper, which was the absolute best I had ever done, and actually I think ever did, on a paper in the class, all done in a one-nighter, of course, only using Wikipedia as the source and just citing a few random articles on like the very bottom of the page as my actual sources. We've all been there. If there's a teacher that actually goes through every single person's paper and individually checks every source, I mean, my heart goes out to you, but you're also about as realistic as Daniel Abdaniel not being a total stud muffin. In other words, you're an actual impossibility. And now, to take a break from that, once more, I love these end of the sequence dragon flying events, and specifically auroras. I've never seen an aurora, and it is absolutely on my bucket list to just experience at some point in my life, because in my humble opinion, they are some of like the most beautiful things nature can do. And I mean, the fact that they included it in this game, man, I am a fan. Another reason why I really enjoy playing through Skyrim, actually, is like solely because of the auroras. I know, it's probably a pretty petty reason, but the way you reflect off the water. Oh, whoops. And the flying controls in this game are good. I'm just not good at using them, because essentially you can turn using only one stick, but if you use both sticks, you'll turn sharper, but you can then have varying degrees of different like angles using the thumbsticks to go at different altitudes, at varying speeds and sharpness, and I don't know. There's actually a pretty good depth to the flying. It's just I mean, this is a pretty chillax game, all things considered, despite all the frustrations of the arcade section previously, so it's not... The fidelity and the finesse of the controls isn't anything that's actually really used in the game, aside from just making really cool-looking flight patterns when you hold L1 and R1 together. But hey, another one down. I believe there are 9 sequences in... or, sorry, 9 lifetimes, I believe is what they're called in the game. Yeah, lifetimes. Okay. But going back to what I was just talking about briefly previously, Skyrim was actually one of the very first games I ever platinumed. Actually, no, I think it was. Yeah, no, it was the very first game I ever platinumed on my PlayStation account. Also, I'd just like to point out, this like rocky aesthetic and those sound effects are actually the most satisfying things this side of Jupiter. Oh my god, whoever the sound designer was for this game should actually get a medal because it is so good. Oh my god. The second lifetime, the end of the lifetime sequence, the city sounds and like the overall soundscape of that sequence is actually like award-winning, I think. It should be. It's not, but it should be. But yeah, I don't really have a whole lot of trophies for my PlayStation account, which makes me really sad because, I mean, if you haven't seen by now, I actually really do enjoy 100%ing games. I just am lazy and always procrastinate doing it unless I'm making a Let's Play, which is odd, to say the least. But again, I guess that goes back to me just being a horrible procrastinator, man. I think the only other games that I have platinum trophies for are, oh, let's see, Jak and Daxter 1 for PlayStation 3, which is also one of the best 3D platformers to ever exist, I will have you know. And Fez. Yeah. Oh, and Gravity Rush, which is another phenomenal game. Something I actually really want to play on the channel. If there are any other Gravity Rush fans out there, I will be catering to you at some point. Don't know when, but it will happen at some point. Oh man. You know, despite being a horrible procrastinator, I feel like I actually am a decently organized person. Like, I'm definitely one of those people that has to have everything in a specific spot or I will, like, freak out. I would even say maybe, possibly borderline OCD about certain things, but definitely not. I mean, people with OCD actually, like, physically can't go on with things unless certain things are in a certain way, like, all the tassels on a rug are lined up properly, like stuff like that. I'm definitely not at that level, but I don't know, man. I think the worst thing that I'm like constantly moving around and organizing are computer files. Honestly, want to say that my Windows Explorer is probably my most used program, just from the sheer amount of folders that I'm always making and moving files around in and just trying desperately to organize, which definitely Let's Playing and having all these crazy random raw recordings and then finished videos and thumbnails and miscellaneous videos and different art assets, different miscellaneous pictures, sound effects, like, oh man, trying to keep track of it all and have like a decent system of being able to find everything that I want to find, kind of a nightmare, especially for someone like me. Although, you know, I know, like, again, I understand people who, you know, can get kind of offended by people who falsely say that they're OCD, but I feel like it's not really that big of a deal. You know, like, I feel like in most cases, you should be able to tell just from the context of someone saying something, whether they're actually being fully, like, real about it, or if they're just saying it in more of a joking manner. And I guess this doesn't just apply to people who, like, falsely say they have OCD, but just to sort of sensitive things in general. Like, oh my god, I love this area so much. I feel like people should have the common sense to realize when people are being serious and when they're just joking around, or being, maybe not even like joking around trying to be funny, but just being lighthearted about something. I don't know, that's just me though. I personally, you know, haven't experienced OCD, so I mean, what can I really say? I'm just a filthy regular person, so. Anyway, that's gonna be it for the day. Thank you all so much for I don't even know what that last tangent was, but thank you all so much for watching me play. I'm having a blast. Well, having played through this and now talking over it. And yeah, I'm really excited to continue on and show one of my favorite little gems on PS4. So again, if you haven't checked it out yet, I do highly encourage anyone really to check out Entwined. It's a great co-op game, actually. If one person plays with the left stick and the other plays with the right stick, first off, the game becomes a lot easier, but also, you can make some pretty fun games out of it. So again, thank you all so much for watching. And as always, I'll see you for the next episode of Entwined. Bye.